Welcome to the podcast Friday Feels, brought to you by the Office of Counseling and Wellness at Berkeley College. I'm your host and personal counselor, Sarah Nickerson. Join our journey with Berkeley students as they navigate the challenges of the current pandemic with strength, creativity, and wisdom. New episodes released every Friday. Thanks for listening. All right, well, welcome, Rachel, to Friday Feels. I am so happy to have you here today. How are you feeling?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to start actually.
Yay! So usually we begin by just having the student tell us a little bit about themselves. So whatever you want to share, I'd love to hear.
Sure. So I'm in my final semester. I'm going to be
Mm.
finally done in May of 2021.
Yay!
Yeah, it's exciting. And I finished international business, and I feel like I'm one of those people now who like got their degree just to realize they don't like it. So
Yeah, we all do that.
so that's fun, but I'm just, at this point, just trying to keep myself open to learning and absorbing at this point as a student.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have an idea about like what kind of direction you'd like to go in?
Well, yeah, I think I've been thinking about it a lot, and I really do feel like I might just do grad school with psychology because
Yeah.
that so interests me. Like, it's just really interesting to learn about myself and my mind, and it makes me want to learn
Mm,
more about, how others' minds work.
yeah, for sure. And speaking about minds, how has your mind been during the pandemic? What has it been like for you?
I mean, I'm sure like everybody, like up and down is the best way to describe it.
Right?
Like,
Roller
I just
coaster.
got, yeah, very much roller coaster. Like, I got my Spotify playlist that they do every year, and, it just makes me
Was it
feel like it was, like, 4 years
Go ahead.
long. Like, the
Yeah,
range
yeah.
of emotions are, like, ridiculous.
I know. Mine are, like, all, like, very sad songs, and then there'll be, like, one really perky song.
Oh my god, yeah. It's, like, definitely
It's really
depressing
funny.
playlists have gotten me through
I
it,
know.
good times and bad.
Yeah, yeah. So very up and down. Well, what are some of the things that you feel like have helped you to stay grounded or to reconnect to yourself?
Um I would say definitely therapy, just having, like, that human connection and interaction in, like, a healthy
Mm.
environment, that always
Yeah,
helps.
for
Um,
sure.
that and just I think, like, the challenge during this pandemic is really making peace with yourself.
Ooh.
And me, I'm not too prone to doing that naturally. So,
Mm.
it's been like a learning curve, really, like, I feel like I've had to do a lot of self-discovery and figure out, like, how to really take care of myself, like, physically and emotionally.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so true because I feel like in the pandemic, we have all this space and we moved to New York to not have space,
Yeah,
literally in every sense of the word. Like, we don't have space in our apartments, we don't have space in our life. Like, we're busy, we're working, we're in all these different places. And then the pandemic kind of comes along and sort of rips the rug out from underneath us, and we're left with just ourselves.
yeah. It's like you think you
Yeah.
understand the world and then something new happens.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've learned about yourself in this extra space that you've been given?
Um, it's a good question. I think, I've really learned my ability to be, like, resilient and adaptable.
Mm.
Like, it's
Yes.
been because 'cause I've just gone through, like, a multitude of experiences, like, living situations, work situations, like, my mental state, like, it's all gone through, like, a huge progression since the beginning of the year. So I've really learned
Yeah.
how to just, like, go with the flow of things and not freak out every step of the way.
Yeah, yeah, that's so hard to do. It's really hard to hold life with open hands to kind of be able
Yeah.
to accept everything, like the good and the bad. Are there certain practices that kind of help you to remain in that space of openness?
Yeah, I mean, lately I've been diving deeper into spirituality and trying to figure out, like, a way to practice that really suits my needs and what I am looking for. And that's like
Yeah.
it's really helped a lot just finding like a little plan that just makes me feel cared for and connected to like my higher self.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to kind of find a spirituality that works for
Mhm.
ourselves, especially if we were raised in like a particular religious environment or a way of relating to our spiritual selves, but it sounds like you found something that really works for you.
Yeah, and it's like I've learned a lot, like, normal religions, they work for some people and they don't work for
Yeah,
others, but I've
yeah,
always found, anytime someone's telling me what to do with my energy or my soul, I don't like hearing that, you know? But
yeah,
I really
yeah.
think, like, we should all really take the time to figure out, what our soul looks like and what we wanna do with that.
Mm, I love that, what our soul looks like. What did you discover about your soul that was maybe surprising to you during the pandemic?
Hmm. Um Well, I've always felt like since a childhood, like I've always felt like connected to the moon. So lately I've been actually
Yeah.
doing like moon rituals. And like I
Ooh.
never realized how like I don't know, just how much warmth that would bring to my soul. Like I feel so much brighter. Like people in my life are like, you're glowing, and I just did this full moon ritual.
Oh,
And it's like,
yeah.
if I told a stranger, like, "Oh my god, like, the full moon gave me powers to manifest my
Yeah.
dreams," like, he would look at me like I'm crazy, but but,
Yeah,
like,
but I love
yeah, it
that.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think, I always think about it like if the moon is responsible for, like, affecting the tides of the ocean and the water,
mhm.
and if we're made up of water, then it makes sense to me, like, if I think we're like, what, 60 to 70% water or
I believe
something like
70,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so if we're 70% water, then of course the moon would have an effect on our emotional tides, so to
Of
say, so that makes a lot
course.
of sense to me. And also I think just, like, I don't know, focusing on something bigger than ourselves, like the
Yeah,
moon or the earth or the sun or whatever, these like really powerful sources of energy, like
mhm.
spiritual or not, can be really helpful to just get outside of ourselves.
Yeah, and even if you're not a spiritual person, I still think that you can appreciate the symbolism that nature has to offer.
Yeah.
There's, like, so many
Yeah.
lessons if you look at anything hard enough and long enough.
Yeah, that's so true. I never thought about it that way. That like really kind of seeing things for their true nature or like looking
Mhm.
past maybe what's just on the surface. That's why I love trees because I feel like trees have so much history and
Mm.
there's like so much attached to them and they're grounded and they've been through so much. And so sometimes if I'm feeling really emotionally overwhelmed, I'll like go sit at the base of a tree or I'll put
Oh,
my hand to a
yeah.
tree because it's like a connection to the
It
earth and
is.
to something that has like survived throughout like centuries. So I definitely get that for sure.
No, I hear that. There are many lessons to learn from, I think, like, all of nature really, 'cause, I've learned, like, just intuitively, I realized that our brains are very powerful, and we give life to whatever we choose to think about. So, if you wanna focus on the moon, you're giving life and opening yourself up to that energy, but if you wanna think about, more, like, negative or mundane things, you may feel less, empowered.
Yeah, there's a thing that we say in therapy. We say where attention flows, energy goes.
That's good.
Yeah, so, like, exactly to your point, like, what we kind of focus on and give energy to will become bigger and grow bigger, but if we can kind of shift our attention and not to say that we have to, like, be really positive all the
Of
time or
course,
just,
yeah.
like, ignore our problems, but just sort of trying to shift our attention to things that might bring us life or help us to have a greater perspective, that makes a lot of sense, I love that.
Yeah, definitely. It's, like, I've been sort of dabbling with witchcraft here and there, and it's really about just, understanding energy and knowing how to apply it, and throughout, like, all of these, like, spells and stuff, like, they sound kind of, like, kitschy and crazy, but they're really just asking you to, like, make a plan and set intentions, to really, like, sit with
Mm.
yourself and focus on yourself and try to, like, really apply your energy to make what you want out of life, and that's the magic that they're talking about, and I really love that.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I'm so happy that you found something that you feel like is really working for you and helps to ground and center you and give you meaning. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. It's like, it's never perfect, like nothing is, but it's really it's something that's there for you whether things are good or bad, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. What are some other things that have been like self-care oriented for you?
Sure. I've actually been getting like finding my own way to get in touch with my roots as well. Like I'm
Mm,
Indian American, but I was raised like I moved around a lot and I wasn't really in touch
yeah,
with my culture. So
yeah,
kind of like pushed it away, ignored it for a while, but I don't know, lately, like I've just been feeling, pulled towards spirituality, and I've been thinking a lot about how Indian culture is so spiritual if you really look into the history of it.
yeah. Have
Yeah.
there been things that you feel like you've been able to pull from it that you feel are relatable to you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like I like to look at like some of like the Hindu goddesses and like the examples they
Yeah,
have to set and looking at like just the practices and ways of worshiping deities. Like I try to do similar practices for my moon because I consider that my goddess.
yeah,
And it's really just like I try to go where my mind takes me and absorb all I can and just pick the things that
mm,
really make me feel like, okay, this feels like it's going to nurture me. This feels great, you know?
yeah, yeah, it's like, sometimes I describe it as, like, listening to the undercurrent of your life, like, finding that golden string that kind of ties
Mhm.
you to everything, but if we're busy or if our life is really chaotic or if we're not connecting to self, that string, that undercurrent is harder to find, and that's, like, when we feel kind of disorganized or feel sort of out of sorts, but if we can listen to our life, like, listen to what our life is bringing us and to where we're pulled, then we'll, you know, be able to create a more meaningful, more full life.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's like just like in I also have like a small little tarot practice on Instagram and
Yeah,
a lot
girl.
of yeah, thanks. A lot of like my clients like they'll kind of demand answers or demand results or for the cards to like change their whole life and
Mm.
it's like no sweetie like it doesn't work like that. Like you
Right.
really got to like you got to take control of your own life and really take charge of your own course, and that's what I try to like that's what like, spirituality has helped me do is really like chart my own
Yeah.
path, and that's what I try to help
Yeah.
others do too.
Yeah, I remember, like, I've gone to tarot card readers a couple of times, and they'll say that. They'll be like, "Listen, like, these are sort of guideposts for you,"
Yeah.
but they don't
Mhm.
necessarily indicate, like, what specifically is going to happen or that, like, you can't, yeah, take control or to change things in some capacity, so I
Yeah.
definitely resonate with that. That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It is it's so exciting to just, like, keep learning more, you know?
Yeah. Well, my last question for you would be if you could give any sort of advice or encouragement or words of support to other Berkeley students, what would it be?
Um, I would say learn all you can while you have the resources, like,
Mm.
the I think I love that Berkeley gives us all, like, access to this huge library database where you can look into everything and anything, so definitely take advantage of
Yeah.
your resources and, like, keep an open mind. I think now is, like, a time where we're being pushed to think in different ways and really question, how our world functions, how our society functions, and how we function,
Yeah.
so we should really, like, just keep an open mind and try to find what calls to you.
Mm. I love that. Yeah, I really regret, I mean, as soon as I left school, it made me realize how, yeah, how much access to resources I had that I hadn't taken advantage of, and so I think
Yeah.
that's really great to let students know that there are, yeah, there's so many resources that they can take advantage of at Berkeley. And I also
No,
love what you said
seriously.
about questioning things because I do think that we limit ourselves, right? Like
Mhm.
we limit ourselves because we're in pain. We limit ourselves because we've been told we can't do it. We limit ourselves because there's sort of like the status quo or what's been socially constructed around us. And that doesn't have to be so. Like you said, like we can learn to question and to critically think and to, as they say, go the road less traveled. Like we can look for other ways of being and existing and working in the world. And Rachel, like that is something that I think, you know, that you have done so excellently is that you have sort of
Oh,
taken your life into your own hands and decided what you're going to do with it. And that's an incredibly hard thing to do. And it takes a lot of bravery and it takes a lot of strength to be able to say, I'm going to go the road less traveled. So
Yeah.
you should be really, really proud of yourself and all the things that you've accomplished while you've been at Berkeley. And I'm so super excited to hear about where you head next because I think you're going in a really amazing direction.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. And like, I really appreciate you guiding me through this journey. I always appreciate that.
Girl, you got this. It's all inside of you. That's what I always tell everyone. Like, we have all of these gifts inside of us. We have the light inside of us. We just sometimes need a little bit of help bringing it to the surface. Um,
Yeah.
and like I said, like it takes a lot of courage to do that. So I'm very excited to see where your life head next.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on Friday Feels today. It was a joy to have you.
Of course, I'm so happy to be a part of this.
All right, Rachel, take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all for now. Join us next week for another episode of Friday Feels. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe. Be well.